Hello everyone and welcome to another video in this series, the Excel to SQL series or Master SQL with Excel on this channel. So in the previous video, we saw the first command in the SQL world, which is select and from. Okay, so we covered that as to how we did it on the Excel pivot table and how we translate the same logic to the SQL world. Okay, so essentially you're doing the operations in your Excel, okay, either by selecting them manually or using a pivot table. Okay, and the same thing you're doing in the SQL world but in a different language. Okay, so if you haven't seen that video yet, please do go check that out before checking into this one. This is of course unless you already know SQL and you're just watching to see how the video is. Okay, all right, so let's go to the next clause that we'll learn today, which is the where clause. Okay, so we saw how to select the columns in the SQL world, but using the where, we are going to see how we are going to do the filtration of data. Okay, so I think as data professionals, you would have noticed that after getting the data, the first thing you would do is you would filter the data, because you'd want to see what dimensions are there and what other elements are there, and if I remove this, what will happen, if I remove that, what will happen, are there any blanks, and all that stuff. So filtering becomes a very important operation in the world of data. All right, so let's see how we are going to achieve this by going back to the pivot table that we created in the first video. Okay, so just to as a refresher, what we are doing here is we have created the uh, pivot table by just selecting the columns as is. Okay, but now what we're going to do is we are going to filter this table. We are going to only filter for certain values because this is quite a big table. All right, so I will go back and get the field list. There you go. And if you see here in the pivot tables field itself, we saw how these two get used. So rows is basically where you're putting the columns, and global sales came to the values and became a sum of global sales, which is an aggregation which we do not want at this point of time, and we're going to keep it as is even for this instant. Okay, but now we are going to be using the filters box over here. This is where we can add the dimension that we want to filter by. All right, so if I can come here, I can pick out one dimension. What dimension shall I pick? Actually, let's go by the publisher. Okay, and let's get year of release. So what I've done now is I have brought the game name, I brought the year of release, this genre, this platform, and this global sales, and I have moved publisher to the filter. Okay, so with that, what happens is now there is a drop down. Okay, there is a drop down to filter. All right, and in the Excel world, as you know, it's very simple. You just have to select what is the filter that you need. So now I have filtered all for Activision as the publisher, and you can see all the games that is produced by Activision. Okay, similarly you can do it for multiple as well. So if you say, let's say I want Activision, and we'll take Microsoft and anything else related to Microsoft. No, I guess, but let's go with Ubisoft then. Fine. Okay, so as you can see, you have all the games that are published by Microsoft and Unisoft and Activision. Okay, so you will get only those row values, right? So you're only filtering for those values. Okay, so we're just going to execute this same logic that we have in the SQL world. But another thing that to note over here is we are looking at two kinds of filters. We are looking at filters by dimensions. We are also looking at filters by global sales. Okay, so if you look at this over here, we can go by value, and then we can say greater than or equal to or greater than. Okay, so let's say if I say greater than, you need at least one field in values. Oh, okay, yes, in this case we are not aggregating this, so I can't filter this by values, but we'll try it. I think we should be able to do it in the SQL. Okay, so we have the values and we have this filtration as well. So we're going to look at different things that we want to filter, how to add multiple conditions. Everything is possible with the click of a few buttons in Excel, but in the SQL world you will have to specify everything as you type out the query. All right, so let's jump to SQL Server to see how this is achieved. So this is the table that we had from the previous video, and this is the query that we use to run it. So I'm just going to take this and make a separate query so that we know the difference between this and that. All right, Now we have select platform this from TBO video game sales. Okay, so after writing this select and from is when you will write the where. Okay, so I'm just going to come here and I'm going to write the where. Okay, the order matters a lot, so always it is select, then from, and then comes the where. Okay, so that's very simple, and there's no deviation in that to so which can confuse people. So it's always select, from, and then where. Okay, so now in the where, just like how we specified for select, I'm going to say okay, where, column name, and the condition that you want to filter for. Okay, so let's say I want to now go for platform. Let's say I'll use platform instead of genre. Okay, let's say I'll take the platform PS2. Yeah, let's go for PS2. Okay, so where I'm going to say platform is equal to, and because it's a text PS2, so I'm just going to put PS2 inside single quotes. Okay, so let's see if I can zoom this. Yeah, so if you can see now, I have written where, specified the column name, and I've specified the criteria where platform is equal to PS2. So now if I run this, you can see all the games on platform PS2 is now available on this table. Okay, so it's as simple as that, right? So we have selected the columns we need from this where platform is equal to PS2. Okay, now the question is, now there is no publisher. We had filtered for publisher at the pivot table, and I have not selected publisher over here. So can I put that publisher as a filter here without putting it over here? Let's try it. So I'm just going to come here and say publisher is equal to Activision. Activision. If I run this, okay, let me select this again. It works. It actually works. So although you have not selected the column in the select statement, the filtering still works. Okay, which is what happened even here as well. If you realize, I mean, that is the thing with Excel, where you really cannot put the publisher and the column in the table as well as a filter. So you can't do that simultaneously in Excel. But you can do that over here as well. So if now you're not sure if all the values are actually for Activision or not. So what I can do is I can just put the publisher in the select, and that confirms it, right? So we have 55 values which are filtered for publishers equal to Activision. All right, so that is that. And now this is the basic filter that we have now done, where we specified a column and we specified the filter. Okay, now let's say I want to take global sales. Let's say I want to only look at global sales which is greater than, say, 8 million. Okay, so how will I do that? So I'm just going to come here and change this. So where global sales greater than equal to 8. Now this is a number that we are specifying. Okay, this is a number that we are specifying, and hence I'm not putting any quotes. I'm just specifying it as is. So when I execute this, you can now see all the values above 8 is filtered on this table. Okay, as simple as that. So let's get back the previous filter, which is let's do platform, the first filter that we chose, where platform is equal to PS2 and global sales is greater than 8. So we're going to be using the and, or, and not for adding more than one filter. Okay, so what I have done is I put the first filter where platform is equal to PS2 and global sales is greater than equal to 8. Okay, so for values where platform is PS2 and global sales is greater than equal to 8. So if I run this, Now you can see the table has shrunk completely to just 6 values. Okay, so a lowest being 8.05, and then after that we just see 11, 13, 14 and so on. Okay, and for the platform is equal to PS2. Alright, so this is how you write a text filter, a number filter, and you've connected them using an AND. Okay, now what if I want to put more than one platform? Let's say I don't want just PS2, I want another platform. Okay, so the most simplest way would be to just use the same condition and add the, let's say I'll put Xbox. I don't know if Xbox is there on the table, but we'll run this and check. Okay, and if I run this doesn't work. Okay, there's a blank table that's coming in. Now why is that? Okay, so in the previous instance where we saw platform is PS2 and sales is greater than 8, what is happening is for every instant, for every row you're checking where platform is equal to PS2 and global sales is equal to 8. Okay, so you're looking at two different values in two separate columns. Whereas here what is happening is you are looking at two separate values within the same column. So every row in the data set can only have one platform. Okay, the game can be played on PS2 and Xbox, but when you're listing the game in the data set, okay, it has to either be PS2 or Xbox, right? So if you look at the data again, okay, so if you see here, Grand Theft Auto 5 is PS3, Grand Theft Auto San PS2, Super Mario World here, and all that, right? So you can see there is only one platform name associated with every game, right? It's not combined. There's no combination over here. Okay, so there's no row value where it's PS2 and Xbox. Okay, or whichever value, right? So quickly, let's just look at if we have an Xbox in the this one. So we looks like we have, but it's written differently. So it's X1V. So let's go with V. I think that's easy, right? So if I come here, I'll just change this to V. But how do we get the result that we need? Instead of an AND, we will use an OR. Okay, so this works in the same boolean logic, right? In AND, both have to be true for the result to be true, and in OR, if either one of them is true, then it's true. Okay, so in the case of the same column, different value, what happens is any row can either be PS2 or it can be V. Okay, so we are looking for those rows which is either a PS2 or a V. Okay, so if either one of them is true, the answer will be true, and then you'll get the combined result out of it. Okay, so now if I select this, you can now see only values for V and PS2. Alright, so we saw how to connect different values, different columns with and same value, same column, different values using an OR. Okay, now we can this can be written in a much simpler fashion with more keywords, but we will come to that in the future videos. Okay, so essentially this is what we have reached, and then we have the last one, which is not, and not is essentially negating anything that you are specifying. Okay, so for example, let's say platform, so let's say this whole thing is there. Okay, so I'll say not PS2 platform. So if I write here where not platform is equal to PS2, what's going to happen is you're going to see all the values, but you're not going to find PS2 here. Okay, so essentially it's negating something that you don't want to see in the table. Okay, so let's say if you're selecting 5 platforms, okay, instead of me writing out of 6 platforms, I want to see 5 platforms. So instead of me specifying every single platform in the query, I'll just exclude the one that I don't need. And this is exactly what it is. I'm just excluding PS2 so that I get the rest of them which I need. Because there are many platform names over here and I cannot sit and write it for everything. Okay, so that is how you use the not, where you're just negating the condition in the where clause. All right, so I hope this was helpful, and this gave you an understanding of how to use the where, and how to combine different more than one criteria in the where statement, so that the table is filtered accordingly. So do practice this on your system as well, to understand how the query is being executed, how the filter has to be added, and how you need to write it in the query. Okay, so please do like this video if this was helpful. Please do comment and let me know what do you think of this, and what kind of videos I should be making in the future. And do subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.